So as Clay said, I'm Laura Swift, and I own Hotwire Coffee, and I've been here for 12 years now. Thank you, thank you.
Wow.
And you know, one of before I opened Hotwire, I really thought about why I wanted to open a business in West Seattle, and really decided that one of our foundational, the spirit of Hotwire would always be seeped in the community. And I really held true to the spirit of like community awareness and community giving for the past 12 years. So when I had coffee with Clay just a few months ago, and we were talking about the West Seattle Bridge, I said, Clay, we need to do this. We need to help you promote this amazing structure. So it kind of grew from there, and between Clay's community giving and my love of West Seattle, the month-long celebration for the West Seattle Bridge was born. So anyway, so that's a little bit of the history. As for the art project, as we were sitting at this table over here, which I like to call the conference table, we talked about a booth at Summerfest, which is, you know, a lot of fun. And I said, Clay, this is what we need to do, because we're both community people. How about we create this big blank drawing, and all it has is the outline of the bridge, and we invite the community to come in, pick up some markers or some paint, and draw or paint or color a little bit of the bridge, and they become part of the celebration. So that's the history of the art of the West Seattle Bridge. So anyway, I definitely hope everybody will stop by and draw a little stick figure or color a little bit of the bridge in, and really join us in really immersing yourself in celebrating 30 years of the West Seattle Bridge.
Cool.
Thank you, Laura. And now we come to a guy who I haven't seen for decades. But the trouble is, everybody else gets older, but he looks exactly the same as he did. David Kelleher was the graphic artist for Robinson Newspapers back in the 80s when my wife Meg and I worked there, and he's a fantastic graphic artist to this day. He was incredibly productive too. He had a bunch of demanding journalists asking him, could you do this? Could you do that? And yeah, like an hour from now. Anyway, Dave was the one who created this wonderful design for the t-shirt. And I would just like you to tell us a few minutes of how you came up with the idea for this and some of the details that are on the shirt.
Okay, well, I'll try. I was an editorial cartoonist as well as the artist for the West Seattle Herald, as well as other papers, the Robinson Newspapers, and did a lot of cartoons about the bridge when it was the Bascule Bridge, and all the, you know, slow everybody down because it would lift for every single ship. And then, of course, the ship hit the span, and so there was all sorts of cartoons about that, and they were planning the new bridge. And there were two factions to that, which was interesting. You know, the ones that couldn't wait for the new bridge because the traffic could flow back and forth and it would open it up West Seattle. But then there was the ones that didn't want to open up West Seattle to everybody. It was its own little community, you know, the junction and the whole thing. So I did a bunch of editorial cartoons about that too, including one after it opened that Clay had me write on the back of his t-shirt. And some of them were, like for instance, before the bridge, when the bridge was a problem, I had one called the West Seattle, you know, there's Park and Ride, and my answer to that was the West Seattle Park and Fling, and I had this giant slingshot with these people in the sling part, and the Department of Transportation was holding it back, and these people were flying through the air and they were being caught in a butterfly net on the top of the Space Needle. And I called it the West Seattle Park and Fling.
Is that the commuting part?
The commuting part, yeah. They wanted it because they couldn't get over the bridge, so they were being flung by a slingshot. So there was a lot of that kind of fun. But then when it finally opened, I had an editorial cartoon that Clay had me write about, where all these people come pouring over the bridge, and this one guy in his little house was going, hold on to your hat, Harold, or the woman was saying, hold on to your hat, Harold, because they just opened the bridge. Because, of course, then everybody came across, which, of course, helped businesses and stuff, but it was kind of mixed. So, but then when we decided to do this t-shirt, we wanted to be positive, you know, all the happy people and the happy boats, and nobody had to stop, and the boats didn't have to wait for the Bascule Bridge, and so that's what the T-shirt depicts. I mean, it's really kind of a whimsical cartoon where the trucks are waving and they're all happy, and so that's how that all came about. And then I lost the original art, and Clay called me and said, "Can you redo it?" So he sent me a T-shirt, and I was able to just recreate it in a vector format so they could print it again. So that's how that all came about.
Did you ever get stuck on the bridge waiting
Oh
for
yeah, I did. Just like everybody else when your timing was wrong.
What did
So-
the first version of the T-shirt look like before this one?
Exactly the same, except it didn't have 30th anniversary, and the West Seattle, Washington part, which I think was added, I don't know how, by somebody else. I don't remember it being, it was really large, it was really big, so I reduced the size of that so that bridging the gap shows up better. But other than that, I literally scanned it in and I traced it electronically so it's exactly the same. So it looked exactly the same, yeah.
But the original T-shirt was white.
Was white, yeah, this is printed on light blue,
Yeah,
the
it
original
was
T-shirt was
famous.
white.
They didn't have
Yeah, right, yeah, white was white, yeah.
And it has the king down.
Oh yeah, thank you, yeah, and so some of the interesting parts is, of course, back then, and the Kingdom was still the sports palace, and so that's one of the things in the cartoon, which of course no longer exists.
No good implosion or anything.
No.
Well, thank you very much, Dave. Anybody have any
Yep.
questions for Dave?
What are you looking at me for? No.
Thank you very much. Where were you on the 30th anniversary? You were right here at Hotwire. And please come back during the month. Please purchase T-shirts. Come to Summerfest, and on the 14th, please come to the courtyard to hear the true story from those who were there about how this bridge came to be. Thank you all for coming tonight.